Hey, Alicia, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thrilled to be here.
Good, good, good. So, whereabouts are you in the world? Because I chat to everyone about where they're on the world because obviously we've got COVID and most
Yep.
people aren't even where they're meant to be. They've kind of migrated to different places. So, whereabouts are you?
So at this moment in time, I am zooming in from a brownstone in Harlem, which is my primary home. I was just in Atlanta shooting during my first COVID job, which
Hmm.
was a really different experience.
Hmm.
And before that, I was in Fire Island from March till October.
Wow.
That's where we did most of our COVID experience.
And so, traveling to these places, have you felt like a massive shift? Because in the UK, most of the kind of procedures and lockdowns and restrictions are pretty much across this. It's the same thing across the UK, but in America, it's so different. Like in Miami, it's so normal at the moment.
So different. So when the lockdown first happened, we went to Fire Island, which uh, was a really extraordinary place to live during the lockdown because at the time in March, nobody really, it's very few people live there.
Mm.
So there's no store in our community. We had to take a boat to get supplies.
Hmm.
Um, and it's so funny because I really believe in sort of our visions of the world. And I remember as a small child loving the books Little House on the Prairie
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
thinking, I want to live like that. And that family had no one around them and they really just lived off the land and thinking, well, in our modern world, there's no way I'll ever live like that. And
Yeah.
yet it was my dream come true without even
Mm.
ever anticipating it.
Mm.
So that was a very, very, very unique experience. Fire Island, for those of you who don't know, is off the coast of Long Island. There are no cars on the island, and it's very, very small. It's 1 mile at its widest and 10 miles long. And different communities are very different. Our little community called Saltaire has one store that did not open till like June, July this year.
Oh,
So
wow.
truly, the great thing was we felt so safe because we were deeply, deeply, deeply.
Oh, I think I've lost you. Oh dear. No.
Daughter and a dog.
Yeah, you're back now. So I slightly
Oh,
lost you. Sorry. Carry on. I heard about the small community. Carry on.
okay. So yeah, there's no cars on the island.
Yeah.
There's no there's no store in our community. So
Mm-mm-mm.
it was incredibly safe.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm
There was
sure.
really
So
there's so
why?
much death really.
My
But
question is, why there's no cars though? Do you just don't need it because you can walk everywhere?
yeah, it's everyone walks or bikes. And it's a magical, magical place. It feels like you're going back in time, and I've been going there since I was about 5 years old. So it's really wonderful. My daughter's been going since she was 6 months old, and it's a very, very magical, special place. And it was sort of perfect for this time because it did feel incredibly safe. And I like to call this time, and I can't remember who first said it, so I did not coin this phrase, the meditation retreat that none of us signed up for.
Oh
Um,
yeah, what a great
and
little thing.
right, it's a meditation retreat, and I'm like, if you're gonna give me a free meditation retreat, I'm gonna go there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. So did you not like use your phones then and stuff? Did you kind of limit yourself then and really kind of delve into that
We
part of the
did. We
mindset?
tried to really. like be in nature. And we went to the beach every single day. We went on long, long walks every single day. I meditated. My husband and I did a yoga challenge, like a 30-day yoga challenge that we ended up doing for our entire time there, of every day doing at least 10 minutes of yoga.
Great.
Imperfectly, of course. I can't say like every single day.
Yeah.
I don't believe in perfection. In fact, on my husband's wrist, he has a tattoo that says there is no perfect.
Which is very, very true. There isn't anything, there's no such thing as
There
perfect in this world.
isn't. We get into new habits. So I feel
Mm,
like one of the beautiful things about this time is the ability to look at our old habits and what worked and what didn't, and pick
mm.
up new ones, you know?
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? Because we always picking. I mean, I was talking to someone today about habits. Like, we always find habits. Like, everyone at the moment is like waking up from their bed, jumping to the computers, and then having food, and then going to bed, and then not really, especially in the UK, not really having that balance. And because we always want to fall into these sort of habitual patterns, and sometimes you just need to break them to have that spontaneity, because it's not great for your mindset to be continuously doing the same thing every single day.
Absolutely. And I mean, speaking of meditation, I try and start my day now every day with meditation before I pick up any technology.
Mm,
And I end my day with a meditation. I tend to, when I'm starting to brush my teeth and do my face massage and roll,
yeah,
like how you roll your body to stretch out your body.
yeah,
While I'm
yeah.
doing all that, I try and listen to very peaceful sort of podcasts. I love listening to Tara Brach. There's a lot of sort of quiet Zen, meditative, spiritual folks that I love to
Mm,
listen to and sort of calm my nervous system and bring
mm.
me to a place of peace before sleep.
Yeah, it's really important though. I think even if you do like 10, 15 minutes just in the morning, which I mean, out of the whole day, 10, 15 minutes is not a lot. And I made sure that within my routine, I would, same as you, I wouldn't touch any technology. I'd wake up, I do this whole thing where I kind of grab the air, I bring it down, and I recite in my brain, happiness is a choice. And I do it every single morning in my, before,
I love
by my
that.
bed. And it's just something, it is true though. Like, I think there's a difference between being content and happiness, because
Mm,
happiness comes and goes, but content is like where you are in this moment in time and what you're
yeah,
doing. But
yeah,
happiness is like a kind of roller coaster, and it's okay because you're not always going to be happy all the time, but you can make yourself feel happy by choosing to be happy. And it's a very simple thing my dad used to say. It's all about the mind, and he's a very simple man, and I always remember that.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. And
So
it's also learning like what makes you happy. For example, and sometimes
yeah.
you have to go through, as you were saying, that like roller coaster. For example, today, like I have two bedside drawers. Like one has a lot of stuff for like spiritual reading, and one has like my journals and like the supplements I take before bed, and like the CBD cream in case my back hurts, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was a mess. It was like I hadn't cleaned out those drawers in a couple of years, maybe.
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
this morning I was just like, okay, I'm done with this being a mess. It's now causing me emotional pain. And it was really not fun cleaning out those drawers. Like, it is so not fun taking everything out, like cleaning out the drawers, washing the drawers. But then the feeling of putting it all back, throwing out everything that doesn't work for me anymore, that's not useful for me
Mm,
anymore, putting like some things in storage of like the old journals that I don't really look at right now,
mm.
and then opening the drawers and them being all neat and like
Yeah,
inviting for
for
the end of the
sure.
day, you know?
It's like cleansing your soul
Yeah.
and your energy. I mean, I think we did this as well over lockdown, that we got rid of all like my childhood like math books and stuff. But there's some things that we kept, like drawings and like some journals and stuff. But most of it we got rid of because my parents kind of want to move away eventually, maybe like 2-3 years time, from the house that I'm currently sitting in. But it's so great. It's like the Marie Kondo, isn't it, from Netflix, about cleansing. And I've got 80% of my stuff in storage for the whole year now, and I've looked at my life going, I've lived with my life for 20%. So, and I haven't missed any of the 80%. So I'm like going, do I really need that 80% in my life? Not really.
I so relate to, well, when I was in Atlanta, I believe in carry on only when I travel. So I was only like, I had 1/100th of my wardrobe. I had like one tiny carry on. And I was there for 2 months, and I didn't miss my clothes. Like that's the other thing about this time is occasionally it's super fun to get dressed up, but if you have your favorite few pieces, that's really all you need,
Really, yeah, for sure. Yeah. But so before like COVID happened, you were traveling a lot, and obviously I want to state the obvious that obviously you were brilliant in Orange Is the New Black as Fig. So because you've had a really amazing career and played some really iconic roles, and obviously Orange Is the New Black was so famous. Before COVID, when you're obviously traveling around and shooting things, how did you kind of navigate through your life? Are you very much like a home sort of person? Or are you very capable of like picking up your life and going, okay, I'm going to be there for 2 months or 3 months and be able to kind of zone in on that community in that space?
I would say before I had my daughter, I could really go anywhere, and it wouldn't bother me to be away. But then once I had her, I've been extraordinarily fortunate because Orange shot in New York City for 7 seasons, and now I'm on Better Things, which is in LA, for 5 seasons, and my husband ran a bunch of shows in LA. So we've been pretty much LA and New York, and we have 2 homes, and we're very, 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 very lucky to be able to even say that. And so but that's the incredible thing about, like, I can get on a plane to LA with nothing, not even, I have a toothbrush there, I have everything I need in LA.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. The time right before COVID, ironically, I was just shooting a movie in Indiana, and then I was doing a project in Chicago, and then I was doing a off-Broadway show in New York, like when everything, and I was about to go to Toronto to shoot another show, and then everything shut down. So yes, I was traveling extraordinarily. And the biggest challenge about this job in Atlanta was it was the first time David and I, when we've been together a very long time, and we have a 2-week rule that wherever either of us is, I've shot in London, he's shot in London, we've worked all over the world really, and we usually every 2 weeks someone goes to find the other person, and usually we try and go where the kid is, and this was the first time we couldn't do that because it wasn't safe, and it wasn't, I was willing to travel to do a job, and I traveled incredibly safely, and I was working for a company, I was working for Marvel, and they handled COVID protocols and health and safety extraordinary.
Oh no, we've lost you again. Oh dear, the signal. I'm sure you'll come back. You'll come back. You will come back.
And so that, oh, did I lose you again?
Yeah, slightly. I was like, oh, we've lost you. Sorry, carry on. Go from where you just left off. Sorry.
So it felt very safe for me to travel because Marvel had so many safety precautions, but it didn't feel safe to travel home every weekend, it normally would have done.
Yeah. So, but working for like a big company like Marvel and like those sort of like Disney and all that sort of thing, I'm assuming because there's so much money at stake, they really, really are protective.
They
Like,
do. They're
yeah,
incredible. They're incredible. And they don't want you going home every weekend for that reason.
yeah,
You're I didn't want to go home because that's not only putting myself at risk, but putting my entire cast at risk, like,
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Like, so did you make that pact when you first kind of were together? It was like, we're gonna
yeah.
be flying to each other every 2 weeks, because that's so romantic and it's so difficult in this moment in time where, like, especially with your schedule, I'm sure it's very busy, but having that commitment, going, we need to see each other every 2 weeks, wherever we are in the world, we'll connect, and I think it's so so romantic.
Well, we found early on that it was just necessary. Like, we tried not doing it, I feel like, when we were in our early 20s, and it failed miserably.
Mm,
I met David like, before I was even legal. So we tried not doing that, and it did not work. And especially like back in the day before there was FaceTime and
mm,
Zoom, and that's one thing that's been extraordinary during this time is, like, we would have Zoom dinner or Zoom breakfast every day. Like, we would have some Zoom meal together every day,
mm,
um,
mm.
to feel connected, which, we've learned to do during this time. But yeah, it is quite romantic. And I'm so grateful to say I still feel romantic about my husband after all these years.
Yeah, how long has it been now then, been together?
I don't count. I'm like, he's just my guy. He's just my guy forever. And that's the other thing on a romantic level. It's like, um, one of my friends, again, when we were in our 20s, had this thing where she and her boyfriend would recommit to each other every week. Like,
Mhm.
every week every Sunday, they would be like, okay, are we going to stay together another week? And
Oh,
I
wow.
that of, like, putting it on the table, like, hey, are we staying? and um
Yeah.
and I think that's part of why I don't, like, count how many years we've been together or anything, because I
Mm.
kind of want it to stay very fresh and very new and very, like, okay, every week we commit, every
Yeah,
day
yeah.
we wake up, like, okay, are you still my person? Are we going to commit to this? Are we going to do the work for this? Because
Mm.
you know my husband and my child bring me outrageous joy, but it is work to be honest and communicative and have a really deep, intimate, amazing relationship. It doesn't happen magically.
No, and I think I talk to a lot of people about relationships at this moment in time where, like, we're so used to having so many options at this moment, and like you swiping and all that sort of thing in Instagram and stuff, and it we sort of like want it, like, even with success, the young people who in their early 20s want it like instantly, and the same thing for love and relationship. You want it sort of instantly, like you want a 30 relationship within a year, and you can't have that. It's not possible.
No, no. It's funny. On our honeymoon, we had this fight, uh, and really the fight was we both wanted so badly to make the other person happy that we were putting aside our own needs. It's sort of gift
Mm.
of the Magi fight.
Yeah, I know this.
We can still get into that fight, and we had the same fight yesterday, and we were trying to teach our daughter about it. It's like, this is this fight, and we call it the honeymoon fight.
Hmm.
And I'll never forget, like, that night on our honeymoon, and it was about the stupidest thing. It was like, he thought I wanted to go out for sushi, but I really didn't want to go to the sushi place because it was so overpriced, and we were 26, or I
Hmm.
was 26. And I
Hmm.
was like, I can't, I like, the idea of a sushi dinner that was that much money I couldn't stomach. Like, it made me
Yeah.
sick to my stomach. Um, and he really wanted to take me and, like, spend all the, and he wanted to make me happy and I wanted to make him happy. And we
But you're
just,
both coming at different angles and making sure
yeah,
each other
yeah.
happy. Yeah.
And that's the honeymoon fight. And we can still get into that. And we were trying to explain that to Liv. It's like, even if you love each other so much and you're just trying to make each other happy, it can become
Mm.
quite if you fall into certain traps.
Yeah, yeah. And it must be so lovely to have a partner for so long that you can see their growth. And when you're having sort of an off day, you might be feeling anxious about a certain role or something, because within the
Oh,
acting world, there is so much kind of uncertainty, because you're always so, I mean, I couldn't be an actor where you're like always putting yourself on the line emotionally for these new roles, all this sort of thing. And it's so crazy that you have that, but then you have the partnership to kind of feed off and to kind of give you that energy.
totally. It's funny because when I met David, my parents had met very young and got divorced. So I had made 3 rules for myself. I was not going to marry young. I was not going to marry an actor because actors are crazy and narcissistic. And I was not going to marry someone broke. Like I was going to wait till I had my own money and they had their own money.
Mhm.
And when I met David, I was under 30, which I was like, that was the role. I was going to be over 30 when I met my husband.
Mhm.
Um, he was an actor, and not only were we both broke, but he was like in massive debt. And
Off to a very good start.
so I broke all of my rules. And thank God it worked out pretty well.
And so I would love to know that because we're talking about kind of 360 and about how you look at yourself and how you look at the world around you. You must have, from being an actor, you must have some sort of anxiety at certain points. How do you look at yourself and go, what are my triggers and how do I manage them when I'm feeling a bit uneasy about a role, or when something might be coming out, or there must be so many kind of triggers that happen in your industry.
It's funny you asked that because I was talking earlier about like going through those drawers, and I found some journals and some like work that I was doing 12 years ago on these issues. I will say David had success before me. And when I guess I booked my like first big pilot when I was 26. I actually shot it in London. But before, like, my early career was not what I anticipated it would be. And
Mm,
his went a lot faster, maybe because he's a guy, maybe we would tease sometimes that I was sort of like caviar and he was like peanut butter and jelly. And everybody likes peanut butter and jelly, but caviar is an acquired taste. Like it's super delicious and like rich and creamy and like
mm,
very valuable,
mm,
but not everybody likes it, where
yeah.
everybody likes peanut butter and jelly. So he had a lot more early success. And
Mm,
I had this time to build this extraordinary tool set of how do you love yourself and how do you care for yourself when you are not achieving anything, when you're achieving absolutely zero and you're taking massive action and getting zero, what feels like zero results.
mm, mm, mm.
So I learned, incredible tools like meditation, like I was in an artist's way group, like doing, like I'm looking right now at a vision board, all of the
Oh,
tools.
music to my ears, revision
Yay.
boards.
Oh yeah, you can see.
I'd love to. Oh yes, I
So
stress to people so much to do vision boards. I think it's so
so
valuable.
it's so fun. And I learned how to do all this stuff, and I did yoga, and I like, I did therapy, I did everything. I did so much to learn. And I struggled with depression, and I I learned how to have a really strong self. And I am so grateful for that time now
Mm,
because I have those tools for life. And
mm,
I can teach my daughter at 12 those tools.
yeah.
A lot of this COVID time, we would go on these long walks and I would talk about that toolkit
Mm,
and all of the tools that I use to be happy, as you said, because happiness is a choice. And
Yeah.
I think as an artist, so much of the time you're taught that artists are miserable, that like you're only
Or you need to
like
suffer to be a great artist. That
exactly,
that that first one.
exactly. The suffering artist is such an old archetype
Yeah.
that we're taught.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a podcast with Halsey, and she going on this, and she basically said, "It's funny when I do a really sad song, it goes to number one, but when I do a really happy one, it doesn't really work." And it's the same,
wow.
and it's the same thing with like Adele, Liz Capaldi, all the big kind of like albums that they've done are all really sad songs, and people are like, "Oh, I can relate to them." But when you do a happy song, why can't they relate to them as well as a sad song?
Billie Eilish. I mean, it's like it's very true. It's
It's
very,
weird, isn't
very
it?
unfortunate. And it's not, it's not what I listen to. Like I love listening to, and especially also curating for my kid when I could. Now she curates her own music, but
Mm-mm.
like it was about firework and it was about shake it off, and it
Yeah,
was
that's me. Like shake it off, that
I
song. I'm
love
like,
it. I'm a huge Indie Irie fan because it's like this spiritual experience.
mm,
Um, so I'm always looking at how do I curate my life to choose happiness.
yeah,
For example, when if I'm auditioning for something, I don't think about like, oh, if I don't get it, oh, like that's a rejection. I try and think about, oh, all of the people that I met doing this, all of
yeah,
the people who saw my work, who perhaps would not have, and saw me do a different, it's an
mm,
interesting thing when you play a role for 7 years and people see you in such a specific way. So, oh, look, whether I get this job or not, it's the opportunity for people to see me, these people, even these tiny, like this tiny amount of people who are
mm,
auditioning me to see me in a different way that they may not have.
mm.
And then if, let's say they want a blonde or they want a Black woman for this job, um, great. They got to see a different piece of me.
Yeah,
And
but also it's about just about again that corny thing. It's about the journey and about the connections that you
yeah,
make, and like
totally.
it's about. I think what you do is you put a positive spin on it, and it's like that whole saying like you don't say I can't do it, you say I can't do it yet. It's
Yeah,
that yet that makes that positive spin. And I think people who have that sort of mentality, who know the tools, they can
yeah,
see the positive side rather than the negative side.
yeah. And it's, there's an expression I heard recently, which is it all works out in the end. And if it
Mm.
hasn't worked out, it's not the end.
Yeah, I love that one, isn't it? It's really, really. But something that you spoke about just recently was the idea of like when you were auditioning, and I think a lot of people are finding it at the moment, especially with lockdown, that their life is not moving forward, and you feel like you're not doing anything. But actually, by doing all the brilliant, nourishing stuff for your soul and your mind, is actually doing something and actually moving you forward, even if it's not in the direction of that the acting or the career thing. It is actually moving you forward in life because essentially you need to be 100% of you to do your life and do you.
Totally. And it's also been this time to look at uncomfortable things I wasn't willing to look at. It's like when you have all this time, all of a sudden, there's been so much fun and joy and like nourishing, like yoga and meditation and vision boards and art. Like me and my daughter did so much art and like building furniture and painting furniture. We ate a lot of ice cream and we took the ice cream wrappers that say joy and mosaicked a
Yeah.
whole table. So we have this joy table now. Like we did so much fun joy art.
Mm.
And there was also time to do some deep writing about some ugly, dark parts of my soul that needed healing. That before this time, I was so busy. I never had time to like go for some dark nights of the soul and look at some of the old stories I tell myself, even after all these years, even after all these tools, that I'm ready to not tell myself anymore. Like, what are the
Mm,
old stories that I'm still telling myself? And that's what one thing I also love to talk about is like, what are your blind spots? And how do you find friends or coaches or people in your life who help you find your blind spot and shine a light on it? You know, I started coaching during this time. With a group called the Handel Group. And I was like, I'm doing great. Like, I wasn't having problems, but I was like, again, if I have this time, I'm going to use this time to go deep in new ways. I'm going to
mm,
use new tools. And my coach, this woman, Lori Gerber, is amazing. And she's really helped me see blind spots that I couldn't see, that my husband didn't help me see, that my mom couldn't help me see, that my best friends couldn't help me see. And she
mm.
helped me like shine some light on like, oh, look at that story you're telling yourself. Let's change that one. You know,
Mm.
let's really go deep on that.
And how did you not know? Because obviously, when you're driving at like a blind spot, you can't really see it. It's between that and that. But how
Yeah.
did you know? How do you know to shine a blind to light on a blind spot if you don't know it's there, or you potentially
I
might know
think
it's
that's
there?
why you do need outside help. And that's why, honestly, I mean, I love Lori and I love this technique very much because they have it's like school. Like they have a curriculum
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
called Inner You, which has these tools to help find your blind spots. Like that's what
mm-hmm.
they do. That's their job.
Wow.
Um, and that's the cool thing. I mean, I feel like meditation does that to an extent, but
Mm.
their technique is very fast. You know, it's if you're an A-type personality girl like me and you're like, I want to find every blind spot that I haven't seen
Me
now.
too. I'm
You
an
know,
A person. I remember my first therapy session ever in my life. I think it was like 5 years ago. And you know the whole A-B situation. You're meant to be the B, and the therapist meant to be the A. And
right.
I basically just took a hold of the session because I'm that A person. Because I'm like in my sort of social groups, I'm like a leader.
Yeah.
I like to get things done. And then we finished the session. She was like, "Next time, just don't rush. Just let me kind of guide you. You're like." I'm basically you're the horse and you're going absolutely mental. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. It's just my nature just to grab a hold of things and then go, okay, we're going on this journey then. So, oh no, we've lost you again. Oh no. I think you'll come back. You'll definitely come back. There we go. You're
Okay.
back. You're back.
Okay, good. I was like
You're back.
I just went to look at the internet. Like, did we lose
No, you're back.
that?
But yeah,
Okay.
it's so funny about the A/B situation, and I've become much more aware now when I'm being an A and when someone else is being a B. But when I need them to be an A and when I'm being a B.
I'll give you a good one that I think you might enjoy, which is WAIT, which stands for Why Am I Talking?
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, why am I talking? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a really good one.
right. Like that's a real thing during this time, which is really tricky because I think we're alone so much, so that when we are talking, we like want to talk all the time, and we want to talk. But
Yeah.
like really learning to listen and pause and ask like, why am I talking? And I think that's particularly important considering like during this past year, obviously the Black Lives Matter movement has become a huge piece of our cultural awareness and my personal awareness of my privilege and my personal awareness of white supremacy. And so I have a real commitment to trying to ask myself, especially in spaces with anyone I mean, obviously Black people, but anyone non-white, that like, why am I talking? Why am
Mm.
I talking?
Yeah. And also is someone else better at talking than you are for that situation? And I talk about a lot about this recently, just when we're talking about pitching, it was something separate, but pitching ideas to brands. And I was like, is it your story to tell? Like, are you the best person for this pitch, for instance? And you can relate that to anything when you're talking on your platform, going, yes, we can talk about such and such and such, but is it really your place to talk about it? Are you the right person to talk about it? And there's certain issues that you can talk about and you can raise the voice of other people's on your platform, but there's some things I don't know if you should talk about per se, or you should maybe invite someone else into your space to talk it with them.
Yeah, Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So I'd love to know what do you, in terms of like coming out of COVID, because obviously I don't know how far the US is in terms of vaccination. What is
Yeah.
your sort of like journey into like the future? What do you think you've learned from COVID that you'll come out of? And also exploring maybe different roles and that sort of thing as well. Like, because you obviously this experience might have just changed you a lot, and it's changed a lot of people. And it might have gone, do I want to do the same with what I've previously done? Do I want to go into a different direction now? Like, where's your headspace now?
Um, I would say for me,
Oh no, we've lost you again. Oh no, this signal's crazy.
I see
Oh,
you
there
and
you
I
go.
hear
There you go. I
perfectly.
see you. I hear
Oh,
you now. Go, carry on. Sorry, carry on.
I was saying for me, you know, as I look at everything, I love acting and I never want to stop acting. Like I want to act till the day I die. And I love producing. We haven't talked about that on this podcast, but I've produced 2 films. My first film was called Equity and went to Sundance and got sold to Sony Picture Classics, and you
Mm-hmm.
can now see it on iTunes and Amazon. And then my second film was called Egg. And that also went to the Tribeca Film Festival, is 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and you can also get that on iTunes. And was really big in the UK actually. It's sort of the second one was in 2019, and that one was sort of a modern retelling of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, about
Right.
choice
Okay.
and motherhood. So I also had the time to really delve into producing a little bit more and developing. And I've had an idea for a TV series for a long time, and I finally took this time to write it, to write the pitch for it. Now I'm starting to pitch it, which is so exciting. And a couple of other projects. I have one other film project and 2 other producing projects. So I was able to delve into that. And then also, I think the biggest thing for me is taking the time to meditate and taking the time to draw and paint and play more. Like I'm allowed to play. I'm allowed to take time to play. And less nights out. I like one thing I was out probably at least 4 or 5 nights a week. You know, I haven't missed it. And that, I
I
think
totally
1 night a
agree.
week is great, maybe 2, but 4 or 5 nights a week is too much.
It's me too.
So
I'm absolutely enjoying. I spent most of my lockdown with my family,
yeah,
and so I was in London, and then I was in New York, and all that sort of thing, and traveling quite a lot. And I've now been spending a lot of time in Devon, and it's so beautiful to be with my family. And I'm now quite anxious about going back into the real world, about going, oh God, I've got to travel more
yeah.
potentially next year and stuff, and to go back into, I don't know, just going into meetings and stuff. It's going to be so strange not to do a Zoom call.
I know. There's a love for it. There's a love for having this extra time. We made one room in the house a gym, and I spent so much. I actually love going to the gym for the like seeing people part of it. Like I love the like I have so many different communities. Like I have the community at my daughter's school, and I have the community at the gym, and I have like all my chorus. Like I love all of my little communities and all of the extraordinary humans that are in all of them. The time saved when you don't have to go to the gym and you can like just go to the gym in the house is kind of
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
The time saved of not having to run to auditions or meetings or anything, and
Oh,
just it's all right here at home is
yeah.
so delightful. Like that I will miss, like that time that was gifted to us all. We were
Mm,
gifted with all the transportation time.
mm.
And that's the time that I've like I can play more and I can meditate. And I want to make sure that I keep on playing and meditating when I
Of
have
course.
to travel more.
Of course. And so as we kind of close our episode, we do always do with our guests is this give back. And what I'd love to know is, oh no, we can't hear you. Can you hear me now? Oh no, I think it's the signal. Oh no, this signal is going mental on our podcast. I don't know why. This is crazy. I think she'll come back. You'll pop back. Alicia, you'll
Oh,
pop
there you
back.
are.
There
Now I
you are.
can.
We're now there. I was saying, so we come back, we do this give back to our audience. And I'd love to know something that's inspired you. It might be a mantra, it might be a painting, it might be a film, anything like that you would give back to our audience that inspired you, that would inspire them.
Oh boy, does it have to be one?
It can be, no, of course, someone give me 5 one time. And I was like, absolutely, please go ahead.
I'll say the things that are like, I haven't thought about this. So one of the things that I love, like a good mantra, is it all works out in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And if it hasn't worked out, it's not the end.
Love that.
That's an easy one to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that I love from an acting teacher ages ago is shed your baggage. And by that, every time you walk into a meeting, if you walk in with these heavy bags and you go like, here, hold my bags, like hold all of the things, all of the resentments that I've held on to my entire life, hold them while we have this meeting. Nobody really wants to hold your baggage,
No.
And so it's your job, it's my job to work on my own baggage. Like that's part of the work that I've done during this time. It's like, what am I still holding on to that makes hanging with me kind of uncomfortable because I'm asking you to hold my baggage, right? That's and that's part of that is find your blind spot. Find your blind spots and be willing to shed light on them, and find the people who will help you find your blind spots so that you can really heal them, both for your own happiness and freedom, but then also so you're not asking somebody else to hold your bags.
Love that.
Yeah. And play more. That's the last thing, is go play. Play more. Don't wait to play.
So true.
When I coach, one of the things I say a lot is don't wait, create. Like, don't wait for someone to give you a job. Don't wait for someone to put you in a movie or a TV show or a play. Just make your own shit. Like
this is, I say this to so many people, because the people who are successful, the people who are out of the ordinary, are the people who create. The people like Vince, the writer of like Breaking Bad, he wrote that. People like James Corden, who wrote Gavin and Stacey, like these are the people who go and do that. Like, if you produce your own stuff, like if you want to do something and someone's not giving you opportunity to produce your own thing and then showcase your stuff.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. Like I feel that on like a billion.
I'm so glad we find that, because I absolutely radiate everything that you've just said. So I want to say thank you so much for coming on 360 Yourself. It's been absolutely a pleasure having you on, and you're such a like a ray of light. Honestly, it's amazing. And you could people who are listening, you can't really see, but she is just like the light where she is like it's just boom. That's a sound I'm going to use. It's boom out there. I love it.
Thank you. Such a pleasure. Truly. And please keep in touch.